While I was at the bank, my neighbor called me at 11:18 on a Thursday morning. His voice was low, confused. "Harold," he said, "why is your son-in-law loading your furniture into a moving truck?" For a second, I thought I had heard him wrong. My daughter, Paige, was sitting beside me in the bank manager's office. She had driven me there because I was updating a few accounts after my wife passed. I looked at her. She looked at me. Then I put the phone on speaker. "What kind of furniture?" I asked. My neighbor, Mr. Delgado, paused. "Your dining room table, those old chairs. I saw two men carrying boxes from the garage too." Paige's face went pale. Her husband, Trevor, had told her he was working that morning. "My name is Harold Mercer. I am 74 years old, retired from teaching history in Albuquerque, New Mexico. For 36 years, I taught teenagers that the past matters because people repeat mistakes when they convince themselves nobody remembers. I never expected to learn that lesson from my own son-in-law. My wife Celia had died 7 months earlier. She had been my entire life for 45 years. The woman who remembered every birthday. The woman who made a home feel warm even when the furnace stopped working. The woman who could look at me after one bad day and know exactly whether I needed advice, food, or silence. After she was gone, the house became too quiet. Not empty. Quiet. There is a difference. Every room still held her. Her blue vase on the hallway table. The little ceramic owl she kept near the kitchen sink. The quilt she made draped over the back of the couch. Then Paige and Trevor began visiting more often. At first, I was grateful. Paige brought groceries. Trevor fixed a loose gate in the backyard. Their two little boys ran through the hallway and filled the house with noise again. I thought family was trying to help me heal. I did not realize Trevor was studying the house, the old oak dining table, the antique cabinet Celia inherited from her grandmother, the framed paintings in the den, the grandfather clock in the hall. Every time he visited, he made some comment. That table could be worth something. "You know, you should think about downsizing. Big homes are expensive for one person." I always answered the same way. "This is my home." He would smile, but it never reached his eyes. The morning Mr. Delgado called, Paige and I had been at the bank because I wanted to remove Celia's name from a joint savings account. Nothing dramatic, just paperwork. The kind of sad, ordinary task widowers have to do when the world keeps moving after the person they love is gone. Paige had been quiet all morning. Then the call came. "Mr. Delgado," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "are you sure it's Trevor?" "I'm standing across the street, Harold. I know Trevor. And he is moving things fast." Paige grabbed her purse. "Dad, we need to go." We left the bank without finishing the appointment. The drive home took 17 minutes. It felt like 17 years. Paige called Trevor 3 times. No answer. Then she sent a message. "Why are you at Dad's house?" He did not reply. I stared out the passenger window. I was not angry yet. I was trying to understand. Maybe Trevor had a reasonable explanation. Maybe he was moving something for repair. Maybe Mr. Delgado misunderstood. But there is something about silence that tells you when hope is wasting your time. When we turned onto my street, the moving truck was already gone. The front door was unlocked. The garage door was open. And the house I had lived in for 31 years looked different. Too open, too bare. The dining room table was gone. 6 chairs gone. Celia's antique cabinet gone. The rug from the living room. Boxes from the garage. Even the old rocking chair near the fireplace had disappeared. Paige walked inside slowly. Her hands were shaking. "Trevor would never do this," she said, but her voice did not sound certain. She walked from room to room, calling his name, even though she knew he was not there. I went straight down the hallway, past the empty dining room, past the blank space where Celia's cabinet had stood, and into my study. That was where I found what was missing, not the television, not my computer, not the silverware. The thing Trevor took was smaller, a plain brown wooden box from the bottom drawer of my desk. Celia's memory box. Inside it were letters she wrote to me over the years. Photographs from our first apartment, the watch my father gave me when I graduated college, and a small leather folder containing the original documents for a property in Santa Fe. A property Celia and I had purchased decades ago and never told many people about. Paige stood behind me in the doorway. "Dad," she whispered, "what is it?" I turned around slowly. He took your mother's box. Her face changed. Not confusion. Understanding. Trevor knew exactly what he was looking for. That was when I did not call the police. Not yet. I called someone else. Her name was Monica Laird. She had been Celia's attorney for almost 20 years. The first time I called her, she handled our wills. The last time I called her, she stood beside me at Celia's funeral and said, "Your wife made sure you would be protected." At the time, I did not fully understand what she meant. Now I did. Monica answered on the second ring. "Harold, Trevor emptied part of my house," I said, "and he took Celia's memory box." There was a pause. Then Monica asked, "Did he take the leather folder inside it?" "Yes." Her voice became very calm. "Do not contact him, do not accuse him. I am coming over." An hour later, Monica was sitting at my kitchen table with a briefcase open in front of her. Paige sat across from us, crying quietly. Monica explained something Celia had arranged 2 years before she died. The Santa Fe property was not just land. It was the key asset inside a family trust. The trust was designed to protect me while I was alive and eventually benefit Paige and her children. But there was a condition. No spouse of Paige could access, borrow against, sell, or use the property as collateral, not without written approval from both Paige and me. Trevor knew about the property because he had overheard conversations years earlier. He knew the folder contained old legal descriptions, valuation documents, and account information. He likely believed those papers would help him convince a lender that he had access to money he never actually controlled. Monica looked at Paige. "Has Trevor been having financial problems?" Paige wiped her face. "He said his business was slow." "What kind of slow?" She looked down. "He has been borrowing money. He said it was temporary." There it was, the real story. Trevor had not taken furniture because he hated me. He took it because he was desperate. And desperate people often mistake someone else's life for a solution to their own. Now tell me honestly, would you have called the police immediately, or would you have tried to find out what else he had planned before warning him? Comment "call police" if you believe theft is theft. Comment "find proof" if you think the truth had to come first. Monica made several calls that afternoon. First, she contacted the title company connected to the Santa Fe property. Then she notified the bank Trevor had recently approached for a business loan. Then she filed an emergency notice with the county clerk. By evening, every door Trevor thought he could open had been locked. The next morning, Paige received a call from her bank. Trevor had tried to use the property documents as proof of assets for a private loan. Not only had the lender rejected him, but they had flagged the paperwork because his name was nowhere on the trust. Then came another call. The moving company had been paid through Trevor's business account, and Mr. Delgado, my neighbor, had taken photographs of the truck, the license plate, and the men loading furniture. Trevor had left a trail without realizing it. At 6:40 that evening, he finally came home. Not to my house, to Paige's apartment. She called me afterward. Her voice was quieter than I had ever heard it. "He admitted it," she said. I closed my eyes. "What did he say?" "He said he was going to put everything back." "Why did he take it?" She was silent for a moment. Then she said, "He thought he could sell the furniture quickly. He thought he could use Mum's documents to get a loan and fix his business before anyone noticed." Before anyone noticed, that was Trevor's plan. Take from a grieving old man, use my wife's papers, sell the objects she loved, and return everything before I understood what had happened. He forgot something important. Celia had always been smarter than he was. The furniture came back 2 days later. The dining table had a scratch along one edge. The antique cabinet had been wrapped badly. The rocking chair smelled like a warehouse. But Celia's wooden box came back too. I opened it alone that evening. Everything was there. The letters, the photographs, my father's watch, and one final note I had never seen before. It was tucked beneath the leather folder. In Celia's handwriting, it said, "Harold, if someone takes from you after I am gone, remember this. Being kind does not mean being unprotected." I read that line 3 times. Then I sat in her chair and cried. Not because Trevor had taken furniture, because Celia had known there might come a day when I would need permission to stop being gentle with people who were not gentle with me. Paige left Trevor within a month. She did not do it because I told her to. I never did. She left because she finally understood the difference between a husband who is struggling and a husband who is willing to sacrifice his family to hide his failures. She and the boys moved into a smaller apartment closer to her work. At first, she apologized constantly for not seeing it, for defending him, for bringing him into my home. I told her the truth. Trusting someone does not make you foolish. It makes them responsible for what they do with that trust. Today, the dining table is back in its place. The cabinet has been repaired. Celia's quilt is still folded across the couch. And every Sunday, Paige brings the boys over for dinner. The house is loud again, but this time the noise feels safe. Trevor thought he could empty my home while I was at the bank. He thought old furniture, old papers, and an old man would be easy to move. He was wrong, because the one thing he could not take was the truth. And once that truth started moving, it took everything he thought he could hide with it.